Well, you're watching India Today Global, and this is Geeta Mohan here, and we've been reporting on Bangladesh and the situation in Bangladesh. Um, there is a lot that has happened over the course of a few days, but one of the biggest messages that has come across, we'll be talking about the situation on the ground, what's happening with the interim government, the persecution of political leaders is also minorities, all that and more, but more importantly, a message that was written and was to be recorded by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina before she was to resign in Dhaka, but could not record that message. That message is out now. We'll play that entire message out for you because it's a very critical one. There are a few very important points. One is that she is alluding to US interference and the fact that if she would have allowed US naval bases in Bangladesh, then she would have still remained in power. That's a massive allegation coming in from the former Bangladesh Prime Minister against the United States of America. She also says in that speech that she is going to return. That's again another important message from Sheikh Hasina. And most importantly, of all the information and statements that were coming out during the student protests, calling students and those protesters who were legitimately protesting for their rights and against quotas for families of freedom fighters and veterans. Calling them Razakars is something she has denied. Razakars basically means that she was calling them traitors of the country. We will have to look into every aspect of that, and we have reporters joining us from Dhaka. Junaid Khan, our reporter, as also Ashutosh Mishra, who's been reporting from the ground. Both of them will be joining us. But first, listen in to what Sheikh Hasina's this speech had to say. This is not her voice. It has been voiced by somebody, and then we have tried to translate it for you in exact words as to what Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said in that letter. Listen in.
I have removed myself, have given you victory. You all were my power. You did not want me, so I chose to come back, give up my post. My party workers who are there, please don't lose hope. Awami League has time and again risen. You people have helped it rise. Don't be hurt. I will return soon, inshallah. I may have lost, but my people of Bangladesh have won. These are the people for whom my father and my family gave their lives. I have heard that in the meantime, many workers have been killed and houses have been destroyed of Awami League members. Allah will definitely help you. I want to tell my soft-minded students that I never called you Razakars. My words have been distorted. I request you all to watch all these videos. One party is taking advantage of this crisis using your problem. I believe that you will be able to understand the truth one day. Wish you all the best, my people, and long live Bangladesh. Be well, my countrymen. Take care of my golden Bangla. Jai Bangla, Jai Bangabandhu, Sheikh Hasina.
ভালো থেকো আমার দেশের মানুষ, ভালো রেখো আমার সোনার বাংলাকে।
Well, that's a very, very important statement coming in. We will first delve into what the statement really means. Ashutosh Mishra and Junaid Khan are joining us from Dhaka. Ashutosh, if I could come to you first and talk about the statement itself. This is an important statement. So let's break it down. This was to be recorded before she was going to step down. And there was no time. The 45-minute window was not enough for her to record and then leave. So she left the country. But a very strong message, but more importantly, alluding to foreign hand, foreign interference, particularly US.
Two things, yes. Before we come to the island with regards to the controversy to the US, how this all started. So eventually there was a press conference during this quota agitation. A question was asked to Sheikh Hasina that who will be benefited? Is it going to be the Mukti Vahini? The response by Sheikh Hasina was, if not Mukti Vahini, then are they going to be the Razakar? That was the exact response. Now, Razakar exactly who? Of course, we call it traitor, but Razakar also believed to be the people, those who were with the Pakistani armies, with the Pakistani intelligence, helping them during 1971, the mega revolution, when Bangladesh became a Bangladesh from eastern Pakistan. So still the Razakar in that terms was always called that they were the one who were siding with the Pakistani army. So that's the term Razakar, came from. So the response on that particular question, Sheikh Hasina said, quota, who will be benefited? If not Mukti Vahini, then is it going to be the Razakar? As we in India, often there are some questions called, if not Hindu, तो क्या बाहर पाकिस्तान को मिलेगा अपने देश में झंडा नहीं फहराएंगे तो क्या पाकिस्तान? So these kind of, so that was the response, which eventually gone out of proportion in a way that people, those who were, resisting and protesting against this quota, where, the message came out that eventually they have been termed as a Razakar, as a traitor by Sheikh Hasina. And that then situation went out of hand, and all of a sudden we see, the escalation, the violent protest, violent clashes between the forces, between the police, the protesters, and things went really wrong. With this message, that one island, in fact, Geeta, I was trying to also to make some way through to go to that island, which of course are very beautiful in the southern part, very in a very close proximity to Myanmar, and strategically, given to that geography of that location, it makes very important that why this island is so important for United States, looking at the regional security in this particular sector and also the domination in the southern Asia. So on that terms, Sheikh Hasina giving out a message that she did not surrender under the pressure of United States. She was always with the people of Bangladesh, and the message that she wanted to give was played out of proportion by the opposition, and it was the US conspiracy. Now, if you remember, one of the interview, Sheikh Hasina's son, while speaking to India Today, had said that India has been very good ally, and so is China. So there have been also conspiracy theories that China also meant way. But remember, the Sheikh Hasina has been very good in terms of China, in terms of diplomatic ties. And remember, there are multiple metro construction work. I see some
And
infrastructure work
stakes.
being done
And
by
stakes.
China.
Ashu, economic stakes, the business textile industry, a lot to do with China.
But also
yet
the
again, we know that
infrastructure.
China has been a little upset with Sheikh Hasina too.
Yes, and China has been investing in all the southern Asian countries, especially those countries that are neighbor to India, and that's a strategic investment. As we know, it's a long-term investment. But with regards to those investment have come from China, especially I've seen the metro network being made by several flyovers, several huge infrastructure. So clearly on that terms, she's trying to give out a message that it was under US pressure. It was a US conspiracy because she did not bow to their demand. And then, this ouster and this coup was eventually planned. And giving us, a very emotional appeal what has happened to her. She did not mean what's the message she said was gone out of hand. And one day she will come back. In fact, today only, there are all these Awami leaders are hiding, all their MPs, all the leaders, several were attacked, a few of them are detained. I even heard that one of the cabinet ministers' account has been frozen today in Dhaka. So it is very difficult to reach out to those leaders because there's a threat to their life, there's a threat to their family. So he said, one day we are hopeful Sheikh Hasina will come back, and because they believe that the BNP or the formation of this new regime, because there's an interim government, still situation doesn't look like it's coming to normalcy. So as and when there is a new government formation, they probably will not be able to hold it. They will not probably to run the country. And yet again, maybe in few years, Awami League will be back on the road. Exactly what has happened today will be carried forward again by the Awami League, protest against the government, mobilize the people in the support. And, that's how the politics and democratic system works.
Well, Ashu, just stay on with us. Junaid also joins us from Dhaka. He's been reporting all through the weeks when protests were taking place. Junaid, coming to you, how significant is this speech? We do know that the BNP today is strong, and the Jamaat has also come out into the streets. But Awami League supporters or vote base is not going to dwindle and vanish away. So, how important has this is this speech of Sheikh Hasina? Well, you're muted. No, it's still mute, Junaid. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, unmuted.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Obviously, this message is a strong value for the workers, Awami League workers. They will start to rethink about their political situation. This is a strong message. Whether this is not the first time Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is saying about the Saint Martin and the US conspiracy. Last few years, she always said about this conspiracy, and she always talked about this. So after the incident, after the uprise came out, and she had to leave the country. After this message has a strong value for the Awami League leaders and the people of Awami League, those who are in hideout now. And I'm completely agreeing with my friend Ashutosh. He was in Dhaka all for 2 days. He's watching all the situations. Like people here are not very comfortable right now to talking about politics because I think the situation, the country situation will be normal very soon. But the political normalcy, it's too far. No,
Right. That again, a very important point, Ashu. The fact that this is not the first time this statement is being made, that Sheikh Hasina has been driving home that point, that the island is important and that US has been pushing. But this is not new. Again, this is not just to do with Sheikh Hasina. The fact that this has happened during the BNP regime as well, and they also had there was a pushback from Begum Khalida Zia as well. So not new, but something that America has really been wanting to get a foothold into the Bay of Bengal.
If you remember, Khalida Jia also made a public statement. It is very much on the internet. She also had made a public statement. The US has interest in St. Martin Island for this South Asia geography and the regional security issues. In fact, there was official approach by the US was made to Khalida Jia during the BNP regime. When BNP came officially that this cannot be accepted at the moment, and there was also because of the good relationship with India that I remember even BNP had acknowledged that India is more the close ally, and in that time perhaps the relationship was not as strong as China, with as strong as it was with India. Even after that pressure, the then government did not surrender. So here the message that Sheikh Hasina wants to give: the look, everything has been orchestrated. This could not be spontaneous reaction. And remember, what is more concerning? Now we see the youth. The youth is specifically because largely generation by generation, the previous to previous generation, they have been close ally. Of course, what the India contributed during 1971. Then we had the another generation. Exactly the message where the legacy was forwarded, and then India, Bangladesh maintained a better relationship. But the third generation looks like there is another investment being made by certain powers with regards to brainwashing them, with regards to giving them a tactical messages and a different strategy game being played out in Bangladesh. And so, until you convey the message that look, these are the foreign powers, foreign hands, which are intervening, which are meddling our affairs, they are trying to put out a pressure. How will you convene the youth that everything was orchestrated? So Sheikh Hasina
Exactly.
in the message has played, and what I believe, this could not be only one message that will come out. I'm very hopeful. We're looking. This looks like also strategic political war. There maybe in couple of days you will have more such messages coming. If not from Sheikh Hasina, maybe by her son, who's already very aggressive on several issues, posting things on social media, and then giving one message. What I see very important is that since all the Awami League cadre, leader, workers have disappeared, they are into hiding. This is also giving to boost their messages. And since yesterday, remember, since yesterday, in certain districts, including in Gopalganj and in the southern town, in fact, even the western region, the Awami League workers have started coming out to protest and demanding Sheikh Hasina should be brought back. So clearly on that, this is also giving a message to the party workers that they should be united. And of course, the message is reaching, even though they are hiding. So I believe soon there gonna be more messaging, not only for the party workers, but also to the people. Because again, there will be a sense of disappointment with the interim government not taking major actions. Even the institutions like police headquarters literally being deserted, army on the road, totally chaos. If I tell you, 1 kilometer stretch in a car, it took me more than 1 hour to cover. By now, I would have covered at least 8 kilometers by walk. But just 1 hour in Dhaka, such a chaos because young boys and girls are managing traffic. For 500 meters, it takes 45 minutes to travel. So all these things
Well, can I tell
ultimately
you
will lead
something,
to.
Ashu? For somebody who's traveled to Dhaka a fairly bit, the traffic has always been an issue. I remember
No,
the
but this
time
time it is
when
more mess. When you have
no,
a traffic police
I
personnel
know.
managing, the
I mean,
situation is relatively better.
one should
So
not be looking.
what I'm saying is, since already there is a currency devaluation, currency value is declining, the inflation and the local issues, of course, that cannot be handled. The job crisis, the employment crisis will remain the same. And if the interim government cannot take really the charge or take the shots, then how long people could wait? So potentially it is going to escalate further in next 2 to 3 months, and ultimately a government or a country without a leadership ultimately leads to an anarchy, dissatisfaction,
No, no,
anguish, anger
that's
amongst the people.
That's absolutely true. But this is an anecdotal thing that when Sushma Swaraj was there for a bilateral visit from her hotel to the conference center, which is not so far away, she herself, without a route being given to her, was stuck in traffic for over an hour, and that had become a big news. But this time around, it's the anarchy. It's the fact that there is no law and order, that appointments will be made with regards to the police and security forces, and therefore we will be seeing maybe some semblance of sanity and normalcy in some time. But for now, it's going to be an uphill task, not just for the administration, but also people on the ground. And reporters who've been reporting from the ground are suffering at the hands of this chaos and anarchy. There are a lot of reports, Ashutosh, that you file. Let's just go across and go through some of your dispatches from Dhaka, and then I come back to you.
To the atrocities and the violence on the Hindu minority. But it all has happened already in the first 72 hours when the violence broke out, when the police started charging, and there was literally, violence all over, the escalation between the government forces and the the protesting students, civil society members, all others. But one side there was a protest happening, and the other side the miscreants and the extremist group of Bangladesh, they started targeting the minorities. So more than 27 districts where the temples were attacked, the properties of Hindu minorities were targeted, the people were targeted. And in fact, since morning as I've been speaking, let's also get you one live images from Dhaka. India Today is reporting from ground zero. This will explain you the furious situation of the capital city Dhaka. Virtually, if I say, this is one country perhaps across the globe, there is virtually no existence of a police force. Yes, not a single police personnel I can find out on these streets. All you see, these people are managing the situation. You say the law and order, or you say the traffic. They all are volunteers. The college students, the scouts, the BMCC, and all the such groups. And remember, they were one who started the protest against the Sheikh Hasina government. And all of a sudden, when it all turned literally volatile, violent protest, when police started firing upon, that turned situation extremely vulnerable. And that was the only opportunity. Now, on the other side, you see all these, the students, civil society members. They all are camping literally at different points, managing the different situation. But all of a sudden, when the miscreants started attacking those minorities, that made things leery. But at the same time, those who are guarding now the city have been also saying that ever since we started seeing SOS calls from them, we started protecting their temple, we started protecting the minority. But eventually, those attacks did happen, the people did affect, and that was a huge number. If I say 27 districts of this country was a smaller country, it really makes a huge. And also, yesterday there was a massive protest.
Okay. Massive protests. That's Ashutosh's report from the ground on the situation when it comes to traffic. How is the civil society and the student community trying to control that and bring some semblance of normalcy? But there was also a report by Ashutosh from outside the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. Take a look at that.
The will of the people are reflected through the students. They are demanding, and this demand is not only of the students. This is the demand of the people, and the students are only the reflecting that demand to the.
And who are those judges you think are responsible for this, who are close with the previous regime?
Yeah, as a lawyer, I cannot comment on this.
Well, again, Ashu, the fact that there are questions being asked about who the protesters are and the situation on the ground. If you could just explain to us on the fact that today also is the day where we are seeing the appointment of a new Chief Justice and the entire panel of the appellate board resigned together. So this is not an appointment having been done by the appellate bench, but in a manner where they can have the judiciary functional for the time being. So what's the process? Is he going to be the Chief Justice for the entire time that the interim government is in place and there'll be a change? Or is this a permanent appointment?
This is a temporary arrangement. As per the Bangladesh constitution, during such crisis, the president can authorize the governor to take the shots, and then even in the absence of the appellate tribunal, these appointments can be made. Because for now, the Chief Justice and other few of these brother judges, clearly the people had no hope from them. In fact, there was a sense of disappointment, and they also thought probably they could issue certain orders which could go in favor of the previous regime. And only anticipating that, the students mobbed towards the Supreme Court. Army were called in to protect the entire Supreme Court premises, and they would give even a time till 1 o'clock the Chief Justice to resign. Right after the resign, the governor, in discussion with the president, these decisions were taken. So, as per the constitution, these are the temporary arrangements. Once there is a formation of a new government, then the new government will, as per the constitution, they will expedite the process of appointment of the judges. What is reflecting from the Supreme Court, because there are several other positions as well. Multiple bodies, multiple organizations, which are also the government body, they're also being protected. And several heads, because they all were from the Awami League, they all have resigned, and gradually these resignations are continuing. In fact, many of those heads from different bodies, they're not even attending the office because of the fear. So clearly, those appointments will be very important. But for now, appointment of a Chief Justice to ensure the legal process. But more importantly, maybe another 48 hours, what we are hearing, there are going to be some major decisions taken with regards to the policing department, including in the law and order situation and also the traffic situation. Because until, say, remember everyone I'm speaking to saying we need the police force on the road, because you cannot depend on the idea. The army's role is totally different in a country. So here the army can guard, they can protect on the law and order certain situation. But remember, there is investigation pending. The investigation, again, there have been demand to investigate those police officials who use the brutal force against these protesting students, mishandling, misuse of power, and moreover, the magnitude of violence against the minorities, specifically the Hindus, in the southern parts, in the northern part, even in the western bordering areas. So on those terms, these are the specific demands. Now the minority, all groups are demanding. In fact, tomorrow the place I'm going to, where the people are so afraid, they're not even coming out to protest or speak, because they know these are the Jamaat dominated areas, BHP dominated areas. If they speak, if their identities are disclosed, probably the attacks will continue. So on that terms, the appointment of a Supreme Court Chief Justice is very crucial. And then the next step is to appoint the senior leadership in the administrative forces, so can at least take a shot. And as we speak, there are also student groups holding a meeting with regards to, because as and when the police force is coming on the road, there shouldn't be assault on them, because ultimately they are also the Bangladeshi. The students are also from the same country. So with proper coordination, unless the law and order machinery starts working, this crisis will continue. And for the priority of the interim government to end the deadlock, end this crisis, and restart the restoring process, restoring normalcy in this country.
Right. Junaid, if I could come to you, this is a very important decision, a new Chief Justice being appointed. But what are the allegations and accusations? This is not something that you've seen that happened only now, but there have been a lot of allegations about the judiciary being biased. We do know that in many countries, the judiciary is indeed influenced by the powers that be. When it was BNP, you'd see judiciary siding with the BNP, and now all through Awami League regime. Did the judiciary side with the Awami League? Were the or are the allegations true about biases within the judiciary?
Okay, this is a common system actually in every government, even in the past, they did the same thing. They appointed the judges for their own purpose, and this time the same thing happened. And the total thing actually started from the court. First time they barred the letter of Sheikh Hasina, which was declared that there is no quota. They brought that letter. I mean, after that, the situation started to grow. And after this, the court now protesters and the political thinkers they're saying court can took the situation in their hand, and they didn't take that in their hand. And after this, when the whole regime falls down, this government, those who are appointed by this government, all are resigning by themselves, and some resigning for pressure, and some just don't come to office, and they sign their resignation letter. In every organization like a bank, BOI, stock exchange. I can tell you so on, so on. So it's everybody is resigning. So this is a common phenomena right now. Those who are appointed by Sheikh Hasina, they are not good, and they will have to resign.
But is there proof? Is there evidence to say that yes, they were biased, that they were working for the government and not doing their duty as heads of judiciary, as heads of various important organizations, entities, and institutions?
I don't have any comment on the court's decision and court, because I don't want to be a contempt. But the other organizations like Bangladesh Bank and other organizations, I mean, there are various organizations, including police. They did not perform their duty. This is so clear, and that's why the situation created.
I ask you this is because, Junaid, this is one of the reasons a lot of people think that there can be foreign interference, but no foreign hand can really bring about a revolution such as this unless and until there is something wrong within the country, within the government itself. The fact that in the past few years, Sheikh Hasina made some critical mistakes, and the advantage of which was taken by opposition parties is something that cannot be ignored. There needs to be introspection. It is not a very simplistic explanation of foreign hand, although yes, there could be foreign involvement, and we'll talk about that. Our episodes will be dropping from tomorrow onwards on details of what really happened, how it really took place. But right now, we have an exclusive report that Ashutosh Mishra filed for us on what is happening with those Awami League leaders who are now have gone underground, and what are they really fearing. So take a look at this report, and we come back to discuss the report with Junaid and with Ashutosh himself.
तो सबसे ज़्यादा जो खामियाजा उठाना पड़ा था वो थी आवामी लीग की पार्टी को। शेख हसीना की पार्टी जैसे ही सत्ता से बाहर हुई, उनके नेताओं पर सबसे ज़्यादा मुश्किलें आईं। उनके अलग अलग जो छात्र यूनियन थे, दूसरे संगठन थे, उन सब के साथ ही मुश्किलें हो रही थी। बहुत सारे नेता अंडरग्राउंड हो गए, छुपने चले गए क्योंकि उन पे जान का खतरा था। लेकिन ऐसे में उसके कई सारे नेता या लाइन बी के नेता हों या अलग अलग कार्यकर्ता हों, वो ऐसी स्थितियों में कहाँ हैं, कितना खतरा है, और ये समझने के लिए हम पहुंचे हैं आवामी लीग के उन नेताओं में से, कार्यकर्ताओं में से एक के पास, और साथ ही आवामी लीग को कवर करने वाले पत्रकार जाकिर भी हमारे साथ हैं। तो जाकिर, हम चाहते हैं कि इनसे बात करें, आवामी लीग के जो नेता हैं, जो कार्यकर्ता हैं, आज की तारीख में बांग्लादेश में वो किस स्थिति में है?
কি অবস্থা আছে পরিস্থিতি এখনো ডেভেলপ না পরিস্থিতি এখনো যাচ্ছে তাই এখনো বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের তৃণমূল নেতাকর্মীরা অত্যন্ত আতঙ্কের মধ্যে দিনাতিপাত করতেছে সব নেতৃত্ব তাদের নিজেদেরকে প্রকাশ করতেছে না সবাই নিজের সেফটির জন্য নিজেরা হাইড করে রাখছে বিকজ অফ অগাস্টের 5 তারিখ যে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের সরকারকে পতন ঘটানো হলো তৎ পরবর্তী সময় থেকে আজ অবধি সারা বাংলাদেশে যে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের হাজার হাজার নেতাকর্মীর বাড়িঘর পুড়িয়ে দিচ্ছে অনেক নেতাকর্মী অত্যাচারের শিকার হচ্ছে অনেককে হত্যা করা হয়েছে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের প্রায় কেন্দ্রীয় আওয়ামী লীগের সব পার্টি অফিস থেকে শুরু করে সব পার্টি অফিস পুড়িয়ে দেওয়া হচ্ছিল একটা আতঙ্কের মধ্যে সবাই দিনাতিপাত করছে
जाहिद, आप बता सकते हैं कि ये हमें ये भी बताया कि आपका अनुभव है कि आपने आवामी लीग पार्टी को बतौर बीट रिपोर्टर कवर किया है। 5 अगस्त के बाद आवामी लीग के साथ क्या बदला, और जो इनके जैसे नेता हैं कई सारे जो छिप रहे हैं, उनकी परिस्थिति क्या है, क्या कहना चाहते हैं ये?
He actually said situation is still not under control. Situation is not developed. Situation is not suitable, especially for Awami League leaders and activists. And he said most of them leaders and workers are now are in the hiding, and they are passing their days with anxiously and with fear. And he said in different parts of the country, their party leaders' houses and shelters are vandalized, and some cases are burned. And so this government should see this, but should oversee this real picture, and should take action against those miscreants who have involved in this.
Does this also gives an apprehension that this could be end of Awami League in the state, in this country of Bangladesh?
What?
Is it going to be the end of Awami League in Bangladesh after what has started 5th of August?
নো বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ ছিল আছে থাকবে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ বাংলাদেশ সৃষ্টির পিছনে ভূমিকা রাখছে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ বাংলাদেশ সৃষ্টির নেতৃত্ব দিয়েছে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ এদেশের যত অর্জন সব কিছুর পিছনে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ ছিল থাকবে বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের সভাপতি বঙ্গবন্ধু কন্যা জননেত্রী শেখ হাসিনা এ দেশের জন্য সব কিছু করছে আগামী দিনেও সুযোগ পেলে করবে এদেশের মানুষ যদি বঙ্গবন্ধু কন্যা জননেত্রী শেখ হাসিনাকে তাদের নেতৃত্ব আসনে বসায় সে আবারও এদেশকে লিড করবে আর তারা যে বলছে বঙ্গবন্ধু কন্যা জননেত্রী শেখ হাসিনা একজন ডিক্টেটর বাট আমি এটা বিশ্বাস করি না এই দেশ আগামী দিনের ইতিহাস সাক্ষী দেবে সে কি দেশপ্রেমিক নাকি ডিক্টেটর
So what he's saying that Sheikh Hasina will come back one day. What gives him that hope?
He actually said he is very much confident that his leader, Sheikh Hasina, and Bangladesh Awami League president and former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, come back Bangladesh and to take over, to take help the Awami League, and again the people of Bangladesh stay with her and voted to power Sheikh Hasina. Because Awami League is a party that has thousands of leaders and workers in Bangladesh, and that particular party that liberated the country. So he is very confident that Awami League is very much sustained in Bangladesh.
Jahid, what has been your experience of being a beat reporter of Awami League? Do you also face the same threat or any perception amongst the people's mind that you have, I mean, whatever has been happening, you were also held responsible for it?
Actually, I am not receiving any threat still yet, but some of our colleagues they said they face some obstacles.
Who have been covering Awami League,
right.
or they have been close to the Awami League.
Right, they have been close to Awami League, and especially those who are very close to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, especially like our senior brother, senior reporters or journalists, they are facing music 100%.
How is your family under these circumstances are coping up with the situation? Family, the wife, children.
আমরা আতঙ্কের মধ্যে আছি, ভয়ের মধ্যে আছি, কারণ সব জায়গায় যে আমরা মেইন স্ট্রিম নিউজে যেটা দেখছি, অনেকের বাড়িঘর যেহেতু ভাঙা হচ্ছে, অনেককে যেহেতু হত্যা করা হচ্ছে, অনেককে অত্যাচার করা হচ্ছে, এর বাইরে আমি যেহেতু একজন আওয়ামী লীগের অ্যাক্টিভিস্ট হিসেবে, একজন কর্মী হিসেবে আমিও তাদের মতো ভয়ের মধ্যে আছি। তবে আমি স্বাভাবিক লাইফ লিড করতেছি। আমি এই সরকারের কাছে তারা যে বৈষম্য বিরোধী, সবাইকে নিয়ে যে সমাজটা করবে, দেশটাকে গড়তে চাই, আমি তাদের এই চিন্তা ভাবনাকে অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েট করি। আমি তাদের জন্য শুভকামনা জানাই, তারা যেন সবাইকে সাথে নিয়ে দেশ গঠনের নেতৃত্ব দেয়।
He is talking about there is a threat to the families as well.
No, he said that most of the people, some of the leaders and workers faces obstacles or threats, facing receiving threats, but he's fine and he's doing well.
And the family members of leaders like him.
Family members like him is doing definitely they are not in comfortable life, they're leading comfortable life, but he suggested the government not to bias any political party, and especially the government should not biased attitude towards Awami League.
Are the leaders of the Awami League party seeking protection from the government authorities? Because virtually we don't see the police. The allegation is that during the protest, Sheikh Hasina government unleashed police forces on the protesters.
আমি মনে করি যে বৈষম্য বিরোধী ছাত্র জনতা যে আন্দোলন গড়ে তুলছে, তাদের বিরুদ্ধে যদি কোনো অন্যায় হয়ে থাকে, প্রিভিয়াস গভর্নমেন্ট দ্বারা যারা জড়িত তাদের শাস্তি হোক। এবং আমি সাথে সাথে এটাও বিলিভ করি, তারা বর্তমান যে গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করছে অন্তর্বর্তীকালীন সরকার, আমি চাইব তারা প্রিভিয়াস জুলাই থেকে শুরু করে আজকের দিন পর্যন্ত যত ঘটনা ঘটছে, যত অকারেন্স ঘটছে, সব কিছু সুষ্ঠু তদন্ত করে সবাইকে বিচারের আওতায় আনবে।
He nicely said that those police who were attacked on the students, they should be just brought to justice and through a impartial investigation, especially.
So there is clearly a threat and a sense of fear amongst the opponents in this democratic country, and opponents who have been in power in a regime for more than a decade, and now facing a fear, threat, not only to their life but also to the family. Life is no more normal for the leaders, workers, sympathizers, supporters of Awami League. That's the situation at ground zero in Bangladesh. This is Ashutosh Mishra reporting from Dhaka.
Well, that was a report of an exclusive conversation that tells you the fears of political persecution. We spoke with students as well. There have been reports from businessmen as well. Junaid, if I could come to you first, this is Ashutosh's report, but you also must be hearing a lot about fears when it comes to Awami League leaders who are still in Bangladesh. Many of them will not be able to leave Bangladesh. Some of them were deplaned. An army officer was deplaned, and they will be held accountable. And so would Dhaka want, or the BNP, should they come to power, that Sheikh Hasina also be held accountable. Is that how it's looking right now?
Okay, this is not clear, very much clear to us, because there is no police right now. If you want to take them in, if you want to take them accountable, then you have to file a case, and then the police will do this. So right now there is no such indication, but everybody know this will happen today or tomorrow. The central leaders, central committee members of our many leaders, maybe 80 to 70% leaders, they are not they are not succeed to flee outside abroad. They are in country, but most of them are not part of the government. They are the part of the party. Which way this government will go, they will take accountable for the accountable for this incident, the party leaders or the government members. I mean, like the home minister, ex-home minister, the prime minister, and the other ministers, those who were behind this massacre, uh, or they will take whole party for this happenings.
Right.
So this is not
Right.
clear, and I think the government, current government, they will they are thinking about this, and they will obviously consult the law people, those who are very intellectual on the law and constitution. So this will be happen. This will happen after the police restored, and because only police have the arresting power, and no
Right.
other. So
That's
after restoring police, this procedure will start.
okay, but it will happen. It will happen in some time from now. Ashutosh, interesting that there is no police, but whenever it happens, should it happen, we will see a lot of them being held accountable. Having said that, a lot of Awami League supporters, including the leader just you interviewed today, are scared. They are concerned, and this is coming at a time when Professor Yunus, who heads the interim government, has called for a stop to the violence, but there has been no stop to the violence per se when it comes to the situation on the ground. We'll get you to answer. Let's just have the audio muted first. Yeah. So no response, or people are not really adhering to the call from Professor Yunus to stop the violence.
Well, a country can say there is a rule of law, but there are no law enforcement agencies who will ensure that law prevails and the rule of law
Exactly.
prevails. So, in that terms, even if the Dr. Yunus appeals people to maintain the calm, eventually there is anger against the police persons. We have seen the videos of police vehicle literally roaming over, agitating students, young protesters. They have been firing. So on that assault, that also it could be a moment, just a matter of few days or maybe a week, but the anchor still prevails. Now, with regards to the policemen, we have seen even the protest. The policemen were protesting, and few of them also said all the policemen did was only followed the order from the regime, or followed the orders of the superiors, which is also a service rule that you have to abide by the orders of the superior. So on that terms, until the police, as Junaid rightly said, until the police forces are back on track, you cannot start investigation in the magnitude of the violence, investigation into the cause of this entire violence and the deadly clashes started, and investigation on certain other issues, impropriety, illegality, or the actions that the government taken on different issues. So the biggest challenge for now is to establish and bring confidence of the people on the law enforcement agencies. That's why I said that next 48 hours there will be crucial meetings, crucial appointments with consent of the agitating protesters and the civil society members who are part of this virtually a shadow cabinet. But whether they're gonna be influenced by the BNP, and not to forget, there have been some controversial armed forces members who were recently in a day after Sheikh Hasina fled. They were released from the detention. Several activists who were detained during Sheikh Hasina regime, who even were in custody for more than 8 years, 6 years, 5 years, they all started returning back. Many of them were released. So eventually, it looks like there is an influence of the largest opposition, BNP, as far as this regime is concerned, and also the actions that they are taking at this stage. So clearly, that will also reflect in the appointments. that will also reflect upon the action that the government is going to take. But until you build the trust between the regime, the law enforcement agencies, and the people, any step that you take may not be really fruitful. So that's why I said this is going to be a most critical time for Dr. Yunus. He's not an administrator. He's not a hardcore politician. His previous regime in politics was literally a failed game. He could not really attain what he had ambitions for. So this time, that's why he had a full shadow cabinet, team of advisors, but who are also advising. There is also a pressure from the students group. So any decision that the government take will also require a consensus and consent from the students group. And without their consent, they cannot take any decision. So that's why I said the country is rule of law, but there is no law enforcement agencies. Bringing consensus is very important for this regime. And since there is no leadership, if Dr. Yunus is one, you can call it an administrator of this country, but there is no leadership. And in absence of leadership, running a government makes it literally next to impossible. It's a Hercules task for Dr. Yunus and his administration.
Well, that's right. But any interim government, Ashutosh, as you know, whether if it's in Pakistan or in Bangladesh, they have limited powers. They hold power till the elections are held. But in terms of leadership, yes, while there is no leadership in the interim government, there certainly is now leadership that is returning in the form of the BNP. And we'll have to see whether they are able to consolidate their position or not. For now, Ashutosh Mishra, Junaid Khan, thank you so much for joining us over here. The big story will remain Sheikh Hasina's speech and the allegations against the United States of America. Join us tomorrow around the same time, where we will be talking about America's involvement in Bangladesh and the story behind the US naval base, the pressures involved, and the stakes in the Bay of Bengal. All that and more over here on India Today Global. Thank you for watching our channel.